Hey everyone, Sally here, and I am super excited. I can't even speak to have you here today on my first episode of my podcast, The Connection Project. I am so excited about this project. It's been stirring in my mind for a while. So, who am I, and what am I here to talk about connection with you? And who am I to even talk about connection with you? Well, again, I'm Sally Davidson. I am a nurse. I'm a board certified nurse coach, life coach, inner alignment coach, helping people gain clarity, heal their old trauma, step into a life with purpose and passion where they have confidence and clarity to move on in their life, right? And so many times, we are missing a piece of connection, right? I've noticed that. I've noticed that for myself, noticed that for my clients. What else do I do? I'm an advanced breathwork facilitator, and I am also a shamanic Reiki master. So I've dabbled in quite a few holistic modalities. And why? So why am I here to talk about connection? Well, I came to a place in my life where I became pretty disconnected from my body, from myself. And I was working pretty high stress job, left a director of nursing position in my hometown hospital, and had been working in the same place for, 27 years. And my body was really starting to show the effects of that. And so what happened was my body was starting to say, listen, I'm not interested in this anymore. And when I wouldn't listen to that, that disconnect from my own body, what it was telling me, what it was speaking to me, had profound effects on me. I ended up manifesting as panic attacks, depression, really felt like I didn't even know who I was anymore. So basically, my body was giving me a lot of hints along the way to slow down, and I just did not listen because that's not how I operated. I operated in a very hustle environment. That's how I worked. That's how I lived my life. If it needed to be done, ask me, I could get it done. And all of a sudden, that wasn't working for me anymore. And so what I found is I had a lot of disconnection from myself. And I didn't see that at first. I really saw that. I really saw that in the sense of other people. I thought I was disconnected from my partner, from my job, from my coworkers, but really, the responsibility lied with me. I was really disconnected from myself, but I really couldn't see that. And so, what I started to find when I was on my healing journey, which has been about 3 years, I was reflecting back as I worked through my own processes, my own old trauma, um, and the modalities that I found to help me reconnect. I was really digging into, and what really sparked this whole project for me around connection was the amount of technology that we have today, and then the amount that we use that technology, which is great. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that technology is bad. That's how I'm coming to you today. That's how I'm able to speak to you in a greater amount than two people, right? I'm able to put a podcast on and speak my truth. So technology is amazing, right? And so where I first started seeing this disconnect was in the hospital, right? I'm an old school nurse, I guess, where I would sit down and talk to the patient. And the computers came in. And so technology kind of took us away from facing the patient, connecting with the patient, talking to the patient, eye contact, energy exchange. And we went into the computer, typing away, looking at the computer. And even though there's so many benefits from the computer and the technology and the phones, I just think back to the electronic medical record, and I know I'm getting like hospital talk with you guys, but so the electronic medical record allows us to see the medical record from hospital to hospital if they participate in the same operating system. And so that is a really good safety mechanism for patients. So it's great. perfect. But when the technology got so strong within the hospital, I felt like we started to lose connection with our patients because we're always in the computer. And I mean, let's be honest, go out to dinner and look around and see what everybody's doing. Most of the time, when I go out to dinner and I look around, and even in my own table, everybody's on their phone. So everybody's texting, they're on their phones, and we're really not creating that human connection. And so I started to think about that and dive into that. And how can we live in the duality of like, wow, there's so much technology. And so many of my clients and myself yearn for human connection and presence, right? Because connection also to me equals presence, right? Because we could be on Zoom with each other. And I could be very present and have a lot of connection. I can be doing a breath work facilitation with people on Zoom and be very connected, feel their energy. And I could be right next to them and not be present. So I don't think one equals the other, but I really started to think about wanting to explore, like, what does this mean to people? What is connection? What does connection mean to myself, to other people? How has technology affected that? Has technology affected it at all for them? And connection can be to so many different things, right? Let's think about that. It can be connection to nature. It can be presence, like I said. How are we showing up? Are we always on our phone? Are we connecting with our partner? Are we having conversations? Are we being present? Because that can happen with technology and without. And what are tools and ways for us to create more connection, right? And for me, that started with myself. I needed to learn how to connect more to myself and to my body. And I didn't, if you would have asked me 3 years ago if I was unsafe or disconnected from my body, I would have been like, what the freak you talking about? And I disclaimer, I guess for my podcast that I might swear. And if that offends you, then I may not be for you. But I would have never admitted that I was disconnected from my body. I didn't understand what that meant. And since I have been coaching and doing more somatic work, connecting to my body, there's a lot of wisdom there. And like I kind of said in the beginning, when I started having panic attacks, that was from years and years and years of not listening and not being connected. So yeah, nobody snaps a finger and that happens, but I had to work at that with my own healing work. And how did I do that? I started to create, I worked with some guides, definitely worked with some coaches, some guides, therapists, and started to learn about my emotions. Oh yeah, emotions, like what are they? Oh, I'm not interested in feeling those. I just had a lot of anger, resentment, things like that. I never really talked about sadness or fear or anything like that. Those were like way, way off base for me, just much easier to suppress those. And so, yeah, I had to start dealing with those. And the more that I did my work, my healing, started to do a deep dive, the more that I was able to start to connect back to myself. And I can definitely get caught in the loop of the Netflix binging or something to numb me when I don't want to deal with my stuff. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with Netflix. I'm just saying like we can go into those moments, right? So what do we do and what can we do and what can we bring forward in this podcast, this connection project? Like what does that even mean? But really, I want to talk about all things through interviews, through my own experiences and journeys, and what connection, how connecting to ourselves, loving ourselves more, it ripples out and connecting to our partners, to our kids, to our coworkers. How do we become a better member of the community? I mean, how does it just raise our consciousness to create a more enlightened community, a higher vibration, right? If I walk around all the time disconnected from myself, from others, from my partner, from the earth, from really everything, My vibration's usually pretty low, and I'm not really calling a lot in. And so this is where the woo happens, right? Because along my journey, I started to learn about how I could create more connection to my own energy and raise it and feel more love, which then when I do that, it ripples out. My relationships got better with my partner, with my children. It just happens, but it takes work. And so I want to be able to introduce everybody um, to the work and to the tools that can happen to create more connection and get people's opinions about connection, right? It's just not my opinion. Like I've had my human experience around connection and what that means to me, being more present with myself. I have a morning meditation practice. I'm a breathwork facilitator. I do breath work. I connect to my breath, to my body. When I started doing that, more somatic work, connection to my breath, to my body, it made me more present. When I'm more present with myself, it's easier for me to be more present with others. And so obviously, when I'm more present with others and I can hold space, especially as a coach or a family member, whichever that looks like, it's amazing how things start to change in your life, right? And so what I was seeing with so many clients is it's amazing to have all this tech and all this ability to connect and talk to each other. But also sometimes we're right in the same room and we're not connecting. We feel so distant. And so why is that? I don't think it's the tech. I don't think it's to blame the tech, but how can we live in the duality of so much technology and also getting back to our roots, living in community, looking to others for help? Like there's a lot out there now about we have our own wisdom, we have our own medicine, which I truly believe in. We can kind of do it on our own. There's a lot of apps, there's a lot of different things, right? And that's all great. But I do like to talk about, for me, I would have never been able to do it alone. I had a team, like I said, I had a therapist, I had a supportive partner, I had coaches, I did somatic work, I trained in breath work, which meant I had to dig deep into breath work, and connect to parts of myself that I didn't even know existed. And that's always an interesting aspect when those parts start to come up, and we'll dig more into that. But for today, I just want to talk about the basics of why I think connection can be so important to our healing, to our ability to walk this human experience. And right, I'm a soul in a human body, and how I walk through this world, through this human experience, I want it to be in a more connected, a more present way, right? I want to be present with my kids, my grandkids, the cashier at the supermarket, right? I want to be more present because sometimes I'm not. And when I'm not, I'm distracted. And so, how can we do that? And sometimes we're not really sure how. I wasn't sure. I didn't even know it was an issue, right? So, knowing that it's okay to have help. It's okay to have a guide. It's okay to ask for help. We live in a very masculine leadership kind of style. Hustle, hustle, hustle. It's kind of looked at as a weakness to pause and take a breath. Pause and take a breath. Even for me, rattling along on this podcast, I need to pause and take a breath, right? Ground and realize how important that is as we want to get our message across. And we want to be less reactive. We want to be more connected, whatever that means to each of us. And I know from experience, as I became more connected to myself, to my heart, and I start to lead from this heart-centered place, things start to change and life gets better. So I just want to thank you for tuning in today. Short podcast today. Really wanted to just talk about what made me decide to do this. What made me want to really jump into the deep end about connection. And I just can't wait to bring my guests on board to talk about their relationship to connection, how they see it. There's a wide range of things we can talk about in this, and I cannot wait to just bring you along on this journey with me. I am so excited, and I still think, like, who am I to do a podcast? This is insane. But here I am, sharing my voice with you, wanting to hear back from you, what your opinions, what are your feelings on connection? Do you think, if you take one thing away today from this podcast, one little nugget, think about tonight, what do you feel about connection? Do you feel connected to yourself, to the people that are important to you, to the earth, to whatever it is that is important? And what is your place here? And what is your connection to your emotions, to your body? Because we work a lot from our mind, a lot from our mind. I have a heavy, heavy, heavy negative mind. And so my journey has been to kind of calm that, slow that negative mind. And so there's a lot of things we can do, right? Positive affirmations, journaling, and all that combined is great. I'm a huge meditator, so I meditate every morning, and I infuse breath work and somatic practices. And that's what I infuse into with my clients. But I need to keep it up, right? Like, that's part of my day. And I need to do that to keep my nervous system regulated. Because when my nervous system is regulated, I am more connected to myself, to my partners. And so I just can't wait to expand on this, I have amazing guests coming on. And I can't wait to share them with you. So I'm hoping that you listen, take a little nugget away just to start to connect to even your breath and your body as we start to move forward on this journey. We'll be doing some breath work. I'll be bringing that all in. So before we leave today, I want to connect you with your breath. So if we can connect to one thing today, it's going to be our breath. And so before I sign off for today, I'm going to ask you to just take a nice deep breath in through your nose and exhale. Nice deep breath in through your nose and exhale. Beautiful. Feel the difference. Feel that connection to your own breath. It's magical. So we're going to explore so many different topics on this podcast. And so I will be seeing you soon. Please like, subscribe, share. And yeah, I'm doing the thing. A little bit nervous and a little bit clunky, but hey, we are going to really dive into the deep end around all things connection. So connect to your breath, and I will be talking to you next week. Have a great day, everybody.